Life, my friends, is a journey filled with choices. Every day, we stand at crossroads deciding which path to take. But let me tell you something profound. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to turn around and walk away. Now, I know what you're thinking. Walk away. That sounds like giving up. But hold on, because today I am going to tell you the 5 situations where walking away isn't just an option. It's the best thing you can do for yourself and your future. You see, back in my day, we didn't have all these fancy gadgets and gizmos to distract us. We had to rely on our gut, our instincts, and our wisdom. And let me tell you, that wisdom, it's timeless. It's as relevant today as it was 50 years ago, and it'll be just as powerful 50 years from now. So listen up, because what I'm about to share with you might just change the course of your life. Situation 1, when your values are compromised. Now let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're working at a job and you're doing well. You're climbing that corporate ladder, making good money, but something doesn't feel right. You notice your colleagues cutting corners, maybe even engaging in some shady practices. Your boss starts asking you to do things that make you uncomfortable. I'll tell you what you do. You walk away. You see your values, your integrity. That's the foundation of who you are. It's your personal brand, if you will. And once you compromise that, you're on a slippery slope, my friends. I remember a young man I met years ago. Let's call him Tom. Tom was working for a big company, making more money than he'd ever seen in his life. But he noticed some questionable accounting practices. His bosses pressured him to keep quiet, even offered him a promotion. But Tom walked away. He left that cushy job, started from scratch. It wasn't easy, but you know what? Today, Tom owns his own business. He sleeps well at night, knowing he's true to himself. You see, when you stand firm in your values, the universe has a funny way of rewarding you. It might not be immediate, it might not be obvious, but it happens. Your integrity is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And in a world where it seems like everyone's looking for shortcuts, a person of integrity stands out like a beacon in the night. So ask yourself, are you in a situation where your values are being compromised? Are you being asked to be someone you're not? If so, it might be time to walk away. Because let me tell you, the price of your integrity is far higher than any paycheck. Situation 2. When a relationship becomes toxic. Now let's talk about relationships. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships here. I mean all relationships, friendships, family, colleagues, we humans, we're social creatures. We thrive on connection. But here's the kicker. Not all connections are good for us. Have you ever had a friend who always seems to bring you down? Every time you talk to them, you feel drained, exhausted? Or maybe it's a romantic partner who constantly criticizes you, makes you feel small. Perhaps it's a family member who manipulates you, always playing the victim. My friends, these are toxic relationships. And let me tell you, they're like poison to your soul. They chip away at your self-esteem, your confidence, your joy, and the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to leave. I remember a woman I met at one of my seminars. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah had been in a relationship for 15 years. On the surface, everything looked perfect. Nice house, good job, 2 kids, but Sarah was miserable. Her partner belittled her, controlled her every move. She stayed because she thought that's what she was supposed to do. Till death do us part, right? Wrong. Sarah finally found the courage to walk away. And you know what? It wasn't easy. She had to rebuild her life from scratch. But today, Sarah's thriving. She's rediscovered her passion for painting, something her ex always discouraged. She's happier, healthier, and she's showing her kids what a strong, independent woman looks. You see, walking away from a toxic relationship isn't giving up. It's giving yourself a chance at happiness. It's saying, I deserve better. And trust me, you do deserve better. Now, I'm not saying you should walk away at the first sign of trouble. Relationships take work. They require compromise. But there's a big difference between working through problems together and being trapped in a cycle of toxicity. So take a good, hard look at your relationships. Do they lift you up or bring you down? Do you feel energized after spending time with these people, or drained? If it's the latter, it might be time to walk away, because life's too short to spend it with people who dim your light. Situation 3, when you're stuck in a dead-end job, let's talk about work for a moment. We spend a huge chunk of our lives working, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for decades. That's a lot of time, isn't it? So here's my question to you. Are you spending that time doing something you love? Are you stuck in a job that's going nowhere? Now, I'm not talking about a job that's just having a rough patch. Every job has its ups and downs. I'm talking about a job where you've hit a ceiling, where you're not learning, not growing, not being challenged, where you wake up every morning with a sense of dread, thinking, oh no, I have to go to work today. My friends, that's a dead-end job. And let me tell you, staying in a dead-end job is like being on a hamster wheel. You're expending all this energy, but you're not getting anywhere. You're just running in place, getting more and more exhausted. I remember a young man I met years ago. Let's call him Mike. Mike was working at a factory doing the same thing day in, day out. He was good at his job, but he was bored out of his mind. He had ideas for improving the production process, but his bosses wouldn't listen. They just wanted him to keep his head down and do what he was told. Mike stayed in that job for 5 years. 5 years. Can you imagine? 5 years of his life gone. Not because he was lazy, but because he was afraid. Afraid of change, afraid of the unknown. But here's the thing about fear. It's often just false evidence appearing real. Mike finally realized this. He took a leap of faith, quit his job, and went back to school. Today, Mike's an engineer, designing the very machines he used to operate. He's making more money, sure, but more importantly, he's fulfilled. He's excited to go to work every day. You see, walking away from a dead-end job isn't just about finding a better paycheck. It's about finding purpose. It's about aligning your work with your passions, your skills, your dreams. Because when you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like living. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But Jim, I can't just quit my job. I have bills to pay, mouths to feed, and I hear you. I'm not saying you should march into your boss's office tomorrow and quit. What I am saying is this. Start planning your exit strategy. Start looking for opportunities. Start learning new skills in your free time. Because the worst thing you can do is to stay stuck. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every successful person you admire once stood where you're standing now, facing the unknown. The difference is they took that first step. They were willing to walk away from the safety of the known into the possibilities of the unknown. So ask yourself, are you in a job that's going nowhere? Are you stagnating? Your skills gathering dust? If so, it might be time to walk away, because life's too short to waste it on work that doesn't light you up. Situation 4. When you're holding on to past mistakes. Now, let's talk about something we all struggle with. Our past. Specifically, our past mistakes. You see, we humans have this funny habit of dwelling on our failures, our missteps, our wrong turns. We replay them in our minds over and over like a broken record. And let me tell you, that's a dangerous game to play. I remember a time when I made a big mistake in my business. I trusted the wrong person, and it cost me dearly. For months, I beat myself up about it. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I kept thinking, if only I had seen the signs. If only I had been smarter. But you know what? All that if only thinking, it didn't change a thing. It didn't undo the mistake. All it did was keep me stuck in the past, unable to move forward. And that's the problem with holding on to past mistakes. It's like trying to drive a car while constantly looking in the rearview mirror. You can't move forward if you're always focused on what's behind you. Now, I'm not saying we should ignore our mistakes. No, sir. Our mistakes are valuable teachers if we let them be. The key is to learn from them, not live in them. Extract the lesson, then let it go. I knew a woman once, let's call her Emma. Emma had a failed business venture in her early 30s. She lost a lot of money, and more importantly, she lost her confidence. For years, she let that failure define her. She was afraid to take risks, afraid to put herself out there. She'd say things like, "I'm just not cut out for business. I tried once and failed miserably." But here's the thing. Failure isn't final unless you make it final. Emma finally realized this. She decided to let go of her past mistake, to stop letting it define her. She started small, selling handmade crafts online. And you know what? Her business took off. Today, Emma runs a successful craft supply company. She employs dozens of people and loves what she does. You see, walking away from past mistakes isn't about forgetting them. It's about forgiving yourself. It's about saying, yes, I messed up, but that mistake doesn't define me. I am more than my worst moment. So I ask you, are you holding on to past mistakes? Are you letting old failures keep you from trying again? If so, it might be time to walk away, because your future is far too bright to be overshadowed by your past. Situation 5, when you're chasing someone else's dream. Now for our final situation, I want to talk about something that might hit close to home for many of you. It's about dreams, but not just any dreams. I'm talking about the dreams we chase that aren't really ours. You see, we live in a world full of expectations. Our parents, our friends, society, they all have ideas about what we should do, who we should be. And sometimes, without even realizing it, we start chasing these expectations instead of our own dream. I remember a young woman I met years ago. Let's call her Lisa. Lisa was a brilliant pianist. From a young age, she showed incredible talent. Her parents, well-meaning as they were, saw her gift and decided she was destined for greatness in the classical music world. They poured all their resources into her training, envisioning her performing in grand concert halls around the world. And Lisa, she worked hard. She practiced for hours every day. She won competitions, earned accolades. From the outside, it looked like she was living the dream. But inside, Lisa was miserable. You see, what Lisa really loved wasn't classical music. It was jazz. The improvisation, the freedom, the soul of it. That's what made her heart sing. But she kept pushing herself, trying to fit into this mold that others had created for her. She was chasing someone else's dream, and it was slowly crushing her spirit. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you are in a similar situation? Maybe you're in a career your parents chose for you. Maybe you're pursuing a degree you don't really care about just because it's what society deems successful. Maybe you're living a life that looks good on paper but doesn't feel right in your heart. My friends, there's no faster way to a life of regret than chasing someone else's dream. Because here's the truth, the success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. You can have all the money, all the accolades in the world, but if you're not true to yourself, it means nothing. Lisa finally realized this. It wasn't easy. She had to disappoint a lot of people, including her parents. But she made the brave choice to walk away from the path others had chosen for her. She started playing in small jazz clubs, rediscovering her love for music. And you know what? Today, Lisa is one of the most respected jazz pianists in her city. She may not be playing in grand concert halls, but she's happy. She's fulfilled. She's living her own dream. You see, walking away from someone else's dream isn't selfish. It's necessary because you have a unique purpose, a unique gift to offer the world. And you can only fulfill that purpose if you're true to yourself. So I ask you, are you living your own dream or someone else's? Are you on a path that lights you up or one that others have chosen for you? If it's the latter, it might be time to walk away. Because life's too precious to spend it living someone else's life. Now, as we wrap up, I want you to take a moment. Reflect on these 5 situations we've talked about. Are you compromising your values? Are you stuck in toxic relationships? Are you in a dead-end job? Are you holding on to past mistakes? Are you chasing someone else's dream? If you answered yes to any of these, don't despair, because recognizing the need to walk away is the first step towards a better life. It's not going to be easy. Walking away rarely is. But let me tell you, it's worth it. Remember, every step away from what's wrong for you is a step towards what's right. Every time you choose yourself, your values, your dreams, you're investing in your future happiness. You're saying to the world, I matter. My joy matters. My fulfillment matters. And here's the beautiful thing. When you start honoring yourself this way, the world responds. Opportunities open up. The right people come into your life. Things start falling into place in ways you never imagined. So I challenge you, be brave enough to walk away when you need to. Be courageous enough to choose yourself, because you, my friend, are worth it. You deserve a life that excites you, fulfills you, challenges you to grow. Don't settle for less than you deserve. Don't compromise on what matters most. And most importantly, don't be afraid to walk away when you need to, because sometimes walking away isn't the end of the journey. It's just the beginning of a better one. Don't settle for less than you deserve. Don't compromise on what matters most. And most importantly, don't be afraid to walk away when you need to, because sometimes walking away isn't the end of the journey. It's just the beginning of a better one. Now, I want you to imagine something for a moment. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a vast, unexplored wilderness. Behind you is the familiar path, the one you've been walking on. It's comfortable, it's known. But ahead of you, that's uncharted territory. It's a little scary, isn't it? But it's also exciting, full of possibilities. That, my friends, is what walking away feels like. It's stepping off the beaten path and into the unknown. And let me tell you, that's where the magic happens. You see, growth never happens in your comfort zone. It happens when you stretch yourself, when you take risks, when you dare to be different. And sometimes that means walking away from what's familiar. I remember a story about a man named George. George had been working at the same company for 20 years. He was good at his job, respected by his colleagues. But deep down, George had a dream. He wanted to start his own business, to create something of his own. For years, George pushed that dream aside. It's too risky, he'd tell himself. I have a family to support. I can't just walk away from a steady paycheck. But you know what happened? That dream didn't go away. It kept nagging at him, kept whispering in his ear. And finally, on his 45th birthday, George decided to listen. He walked away from his comfortable job and started his own business. Was it scary? You bet it was. Was it difficult? Absolutely. But George will tell you it was the best decision he ever made. Because now he's not just earning a living, he's living his purpose. You see, walking away isn't about running from something. It's about running towards something better. It's about having the courage to say, this isn't good enough, I deserve more, I'm capable of more. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Change is never easy. But let me ask you this. Is staying in a situation that doesn't serve you any easier, is settling for less than you deserve any less painful? The truth is, the pain of staying the same is often greater than the pain of change. We just don't realize it because we've gotten used to it. It's like wearing shoes that are too tight. At first, it's uncomfortable. But over time, you get used to it. You forget what it feels like to walk without pain, until one day you take those shoes off and realize just how much discomfort you've been living with. That's what walking away does. It frees you from the constraints you've grown accustomed to. It allows you to stretch, to grow, to become the person you're meant to be. But here's the key. You have to be willing to take that first step. You have to be brave enough to say, this isn't working for me anymore. And then you have to be courageous enough to do something about it. Remember, every great adventure begins with a single step. Every success story starts with a moment of decision. Your life can change in an instant, but only if you're willing to make that change. So I ask you, what are you holding on to that no longer serves you? What dream have you been pushing aside because it seems too risky? What part of your life is crying out for change? Maybe it's a job that's sucking the life out of you. Maybe it's a relationship that's holding you back. Maybe it's a belief about yourself that's limiting your potential. Whatever it is, I want you to consider something. What if walking away from that thing is exactly what you need to do to move forward? Now, I'm not saying you should make rash decisions. Walking away should be a thoughtful choice, not an impulsive reaction. Take the time to reflect, to plan, to prepare. But don't let preparation become an excuse for inaction. Because here's the truth. There's never going to be a perfect time. The stars will never align just right. If you're waiting for the perfect moment to make a change, you'll be waiting forever. The perfect moment is now. The perfect moment is when you decide to make it perfect. You see, life is too short to spend it being less than you can be. It's too precious to waste on situations that don't fulfill you, relationships that don't support you, or dreams that aren't your own. So give yourself permission to walk away. Give yourself permission to choose yourself. Give yourself permission to create the life you truly want. Because when you walk away from what's not working, you make room for what will. When you close the door on one chapter, you open the door to a new one. And that new chapter, it could be the best one yet. Remember, you are the author of your own life story. You have the power to change the plot, to introduce new characters, to create plot twists. But you can only do that if you're willing to turn the page, to start a new chapter when the old one no longer serves you. So I challenge you, be brave enough to walk away when you need to. Be courageous enough to choose a different path. Be bold enough to create the life you truly want, because at the end of the day, your life is yours to live. Not your parents, not your friends, not society's. Yours, and you have the right, no, the responsibility to live it in a way that brings you joy, fulfillment, and purpose. Walking away isn't about giving up. It's about moving on. It's about growing. It's about evolving into the best version of yourself. So the next time you find yourself in a situation that's not serving you, remember this, you always have a choice. You can stay and settle, or you can walk away and soar. The decision is yours. And let me tell you, my friends, there's nothing more liberating, more empowering than choosing to walk away from what's not right for you. Because when you do that, you're not just walking away from something. You're walking towards everything you can be. So go ahead, take that step. Turn that page, start that new chapter. Your best life is waiting for you. All you have to do is have the courage to walk towards it. Remember, life is not about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. And sometimes creating yourself means walking away from the person you've been to become the person you're meant to be. So don't be afraid to leave behind what's no longer serving you. Don't be afraid to outgrow situations, relationships, or even parts of yourself, because that's what growth is all about. It's about becoming more of who you truly are. And let me tell you, there's no greater adventure than that. There's no journey more rewarding than the one that leads you to your authentic self. But here's the thing about authenticity. It's not always easy. In fact, it can be downright terrifying. Because being your authentic self means being vulnerable. It means showing the world who you really are, not who you think they want you to be. I remember a time when I was struggling with this myself. I had built up this image of who I thought I needed to be: successful, always put together, never showing weakness. But inside, I was falling apart. I was exhausted from trying to maintain this perfect facade, and then one day, I just couldn't do it anymore. I broke down in front of a group of colleagues. I showed them my real self, messy, imperfect, but genuine. And you know what? It was the most liberating moment of my life. Because here's the truth, we're all messy, we're all imperfect, and that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay, it's beautiful. Our flaws, our quirks, our unique perspectives, that's what makes us who we are. That's what makes us valuable. So I want you to ask yourself, are you living authentically? Are you showing the world your true self? Or are you hiding behind a mask, afraid of what people might think if they saw the real you? If you're hiding, I want you to consider something. What if the very things you're trying to hide are actually your greatest strengths? What if your sensitivity, your quirkiness, your unconventional ideas are exactly what the world needs? You see, when you embrace your authentic self, you give others permission to do the same. You create a ripple effect of authenticity that can change not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Being authentic means being willing to stand out, to go against the grain. It means being okay with the fact that not everyone will understand or approve of you. But let me tell you, the rewards are worth it. Because when you're living authentically, you attract the right people into your life. You find opportunities that align with your true passions. You wake up every day excited about what you're doing, not dreading it. And most importantly, you find peace, the kind of peace that comes from knowing you're living life on your own terms, not anyone else's. So how do we cultivate this authenticity? How do we embark on this journey to our true selves? First, it starts with self-awareness. Take the time to really get to know yourself. What are your values? What lights you up? What drains you? What are your non-negotiables in life? Second, practice self-acceptance. Embrace all parts of yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Remember, you don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect. Third, have the courage to be vulnerable. Share your true thoughts and feelings with others. Let them see the real you, not just the polished version you think they want to see. Fourth, set boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no to things that don't align with your values or goals. Remember, every time you say yes to something that doesn't serve you, you're saying no to something that does. And finally, keep growing. Authenticity isn't about staying the same. It's about continually evolving into the best version of yourself. Never stop learning, never stop challenging yourself, never stop expanding your horizons. Because here's the beautiful thing about this journey to authenticity. It never really ends. There's always more to discover about yourself, always new depths to explore. So embrace the journey, embrace the uncertainty, embrace the growth. Because on the other side of that uncertainty, on the other side of that fear, is a life beyond your wildest dreams. A life where you're not just existing, but truly living. A life where you're not just successful, but fulfilled. Remember, you are unique. There has never been, and will never be, another person exactly like you. You have gifts, talents, and perspectives that only you can offer the world. Don't deprive the world of that gift by trying to be someone you're not. Be brave enough to be you. Be courageous enough to share your true self with the world. Because the world doesn't need more people pretending to be something they're not. The world needs you, the real you, the authentic you.